There's something about dark, desolate spaces that pulls at our deepest fears. Spaces where the normal rules of reality feel distant and brittle. Spaces where the darkness has time to fester and grow claws. Tonight, let me take you into one such space, into a remote corner of the countryside known as Black Willow Hollow. But this isn't any ordinary hollow, no. Its secrets are older, darker, and colder than midnight itself. Welcome to the Nightside Archive. This is the story we call The Feathered Horror of Black Willow Hollow. Long before Black Willow Hollow became a blip on the map, locals whispered of an ancient menace that called the place home. They avoided its murky woods and shadowed fields, even during daylight hours. The sparse willows, twisted and blackened like burned matchsticks, jutted out of the soil in jagged defiance. Their bark bore grooves, as if scraped by unthinkably large claws. And when the wind howled through the hollow, it carried an eerie, avian sound, something between a screech and a groan. But how does one explain a wind that mimics voices in torment? The tale truly begins in 1964, when an ornithologist named Dr. Eliza Morton made her way to the hollow. Eliza was eager to catalog and study the sparse population of unusual birds spotted there. It was her life's work, unraveling nature's mysteries. But what Eliza didn't know, what no one wanted to tell her, was that this hollow held a predator like no other. It had feathers, true, but this was no bird to be pinned and studied. Witnesses say Eliza arrived almost defiantly cheerful, her truck coughing to a stop in the middle of the desolate dirt road. She looked up at the black willows and joked to a local farmer that it wasn't half as scary as described. The farmer didn't laugh. He only muttered, "Pray you leave faster than the others." Still, no warnings could dampen her scientific curiosity. She set up camp near the border of the woods and began her observations. Night fell quickly in Black Willow Hollow. Moonlight flickered uncertainly, barely penetrating the dense canopy. But Eliza, armed with lines of field notes and recording tools, ignored the rising chill. The first oddity made itself known within hours. Her recorder caught shrill whistles, like the call of a giant bird, but distorted, elongated in unnatural pitches. She expected a large raptor, perhaps injured or suffering from throat abnormalities. She hadn't expected the sound to move closer without warning. By 11 p.m., the sounds no longer stayed in the trees. They seemed to circle her camp, low to the ground. Then it happened, a single loud thump against the canvas wall of her tent. Her flashlight beam swept the area outside, capturing nothing but empty air. And yet, she swore, for the first time, the air itself felt coated with dread, as though some unseen pair of eyes refused to break its stare. The next morning, Eliza discovered something she couldn't explain. Her camp was surrounded by long feathers embedded in the mud, jet black, with an oil-like rainbow sheen under the sun. These weren't ordinary feathers. They measured nearly 15 inches each, stiff and sharp at the edges like blades. This discovery marked the turning point. Whatever inhabited this hollow was big. Predator big. She should have left right then, but Eliza was too fascinated to walk away. Locals report that on the second night, her demeanor changed. She visited the tiny nearby town to stock up supplies, but her face had grown pale, her brisk steps tainted with unwilling glances over her shoulder. She kept muttering about a peculiar set of bright, amber eyes she'd seen just past the tree line. Eyes that seemed to absorb light, not reflect it. Eyes that never blinked. Her third night in the hollow is where the details turn murky. Following the haunting calls once more, Eliza ventured deeper into the forest. Locals remember hearing a burst of panicked screams echo from the trees, coupled with an oppressive silence that followed. When her screams stopped, the hollow seemed to hold its breath. When days passed without anyone seeing her, a search party formed. Most swept through quickly, unwilling to linger longer than necessary. They found her tent. It stood untouched on the outside, but inside was chaos. Her journal lay open, pages splotched with ink but unreadable. The tape recorder sat silent, its tape fully wound back, as though it had recorded nothing at all. Yet the tracks near the camp told another story. In the mud were both human footprints and enormous clawed impressions nearly the size of dinner plates. They moved together, a wild and chaotic dance, the predator stalking prey. Strangely enough, her body was never found. Pieces of her equipment turned up as years passed. A tripod here, a tattered notebook there, but no Eliza. Some say she was taken. Others think she became part of whatever haunts the hollow. What remains consistent is that after her disappearance, the hollow grew quieter. The sinister bird calls ceased for decades, and the timber refused to grow thicker. But there's one final twist to this chilling account. In 1999, when technology advanced, another team armed with better equipment visited Black Willow Hollow, not to seek Eliza, but rather to investigate the unusual magnetic anomalies tied to the place. They set up highly sensitive audio devices. By midweek, one researcher claimed he captured something extraordinary, faint at first, inhuman and shrill, but unmistakable, was an audible whisper embedded in the noise, a soft yet chilling plea that said, "Leave, turn back." Accompanying the sound, another black feather, pinning their equipment as though speared by calculated intent. The team didn't wait to discuss further. They left in a rush, many never speaking of the location publicly again. Today, no one lives within 5 miles of Black Willow Hollow. Roads close to the area warn travelers to circumvent it at all costs. And when the moon is just right, some night hikers have claimed they spot something massive perched atop the dead trees, shadowed but stirring with sinuous grace. Those sightings always end with an unnerving pattern. They wake the next day to find the same feathers pressed against their tents or cameras, a chilling reminder that few enter Black Willow Hollow and leave unchanged. So, dear listener, should you ever find yourself near Black Willow Hollow, thinking it's just another forgotten corner of the world, ask yourself, do you really want to know what resides there? For sometimes, the ancient things are best left undisturbed. Until next time, keep watch when the world grows dark. This has been the Nightside Archive's retelling of the feathered horror of Black Willow Hollow.